I remember being wheeled into the operating room and having one of the nurses who was there look at me and say, "How did you arrange this?" I was absolutely shocked to realize how many women would not have been in a position to make the decision that I made. It seems to me the responsibility of privileged people to do what they can for those who are less fortunate, and that's what I've tried to do. What was hard was making up my mind, because I had a lot of conflict around this. I wondered if it was the right thing to do. And I needed somebody who would support me and say, no, if you don't want to have a baby, you don't have to have a baby. And that person was not there. So I was very alone. I think women are still very alone. I saw that the debate was extremely lopsided. There were all kinds of people who were coming out with all kinds of opinions about abortion. However, the people who had abortions were prevented from speaking. They were prevented from speaking because they were shamed. They were embarrassed. It's not only, in other words, the fetus who's silent. The woman is also silent. The ACLU is very important because they speak for all these silenced people. They speak for the people who can't speak. We need to say, you cannot just ignore us. You cannot just refuse to listen to us. You can't make us ashamed and embarrassed if we speak out. You have to listen to us.
When I was growing up, you couldn't get contraceptives. There wasn't a birth control pill until the 60s, and people actually began challenging whether a woman could have access to birth control or whether unmarried people.
Women were literally dying. They were taking extreme measures to try and cause an abortion.
It was very clear that reproductive rights affected a huge population in this country.
It's a basic human right, and civil rights are human rights.
Susie Post saw that there was no one working in Kentucky, and this is post-Roe, protecting the rights of women to make these choices.
And I thought, this is really going to be a bad time for women. And I realized that if the ACLU didn't do it, it wasn't going to get done.
So we formed the Reproductive Freedom Project.
The Reproductive Freedom Project, or the RFP, does three things. We do education about what is the history of reproductive rights and where are people trying to take us. We also do advocacy, so we work directly within the legislature to shape policy. We also then do litigation. When those bad laws are passed, we litigate them in the courts.
We're still one of only like 5 or 6 states in the nation that have dedicated staff to protecting reproductive rights. And because of that, we're the only state in the South that hasn't passed regressive choice legislation in the past decade.
We had 3 watershed cases. First was Griswold versus Connecticut, which was the first blanket legalization of the pill. The other one was Roe versus Wade.
Even though Roe v. Wade made abortion legal, every state, including Kentucky, would constantly pass a law that would restrict abortion in some manner.
Then in 1992, we got the real test case, which was Casey. And in the Casey decision, states cannot put an undue burden on abortion. The states have really tried to figure out, well, what's an undue burden and how far can we really push that? How close can we come to actually outlawing abortion without doing it outright?
It's getting worse, unfortunately, in the state of Kentucky. This year, with the help of our sister organizations, we killed 8 anti-choice bills, which ranged from banning abortion within the first 6 weeks, banning it after 20, forcing women to come to one of our 2 clinics at least twice, and also doing ultrasounds for women regardless if they're survivors of rape and incest.
We only have 2 clinics that do abortions in the entire state, one of which is only open 2 days. You know, if you're from Owensboro, trying to make that trip twice, if you work an hourly job, that's losing 2 days' wages.
They come up with everything they possibly can and make it as restrictive as possible. And there are clinics that can't abide by the kinds of things that they are able to pass.
Those are the fights that we find ourselves faced with now. The more people that can get involved and the more transparency that there is with the political process, the more we all win.
To my mind, the advantage of the ACLU is that it does not take an ideological stance on beliefs about abortion and about contraception, about sexuality. The ACLU, therefore, is not in the business of encouraging one kind of choice and discouraging another.
It's the right to be an individual. It's about having liberties, because if a woman doesn't have reproductive rights, she's not free.
We are part of a tradition, we're part of a history, and that is the way we need to look toward the future. The struggle isn't over.
The beauty of the American system is this notion of democracy, that individuals can play a part in making change that they want to see happen.
We aren't protected. We have to once again take a stand, the same kind of stand we did before abortion became legal. We've got to begin to take that kind of stand again.